Hey everyone, it's Rambling Hour with Lisa, season 17, episode 5. There is some Valentine's stuff here. That's just because I put the Valentine's decorations out, but sorry, I was reading some breaking news that came up at the top, but it's fine. Yeah, but I'm not doing a Valentine's theme. Then I was thinking, Rambling Hour Sunday. I'm tired because it's Steve's birthday today. He turned 61. Happy birthday to my lovely husband. And we had people over, but yeah, getting the house clean and then getting everything organized for. He made a roast dinner. I know it was his birthday, but he wanted a roast dinner at home, and he makes it better than I do. So he made a roast dinner, but I got everything else ready, putting away all my miniatures and stuff so that the house was clean for guests. And I'm just tired, but I didn't want to disappoint you guys, so I am doing my live, even though I'm tired. And then, of course, because it's an obsession and I'm an obsessive personality, I just want to make miniatures. Then I thought, especially if there's nobody watching this live necessarily to interact with, I could just make miniatures while I'm talking to you guys. So I don't know what I'm going to make yet. But the table was cleaned off because I used this table for the present for Steve's birthday. But now I just brought my stuff back out. I showed you guys before the little thing that I got off of Amazon with the different colors in it. And then I have, so this is like a potato with a toothpick, like a cocktail stick toothpick in it. And it's because, I made celery the other day, and with my leftover celery stuff, I made this as my first plant that I've made with the leftovers. It looks like an air plant, but I baked it like this so that it didn't get squished. I might put it into a pot like that, or I might make it an air plant in a house. Either way, I can also paint it now too. I could add more color to it or different colors to it if I wanted. So that's why I have the potatoes. So I have my trays. Even though I'm not baking them in the oven anymore, I'm putting them in the air fryer. So I made this little, I need to find some silicone thing that goes in the round air fryer. But I made this little thing out of parchment paper so that I hold these little handles and set this down into the Ninja, like into the air fryer I don't air fry them. I set it on bake. The air fryer, like the Ninja 9-in-1, it goes down to, in Celsius, the lowest it does is 120 degrees Celsius, and 110 would be more ideal, but I have, been working with it. So most things at the size that I make them, I put them into the air fryer, like on bake for 15 minutes at 120, and it seems to be working fine, which is nice because then I don't have to turn the oven on for, not too many things. But I have my trays here. Now this is my cutting mat for cutting. These are cutting mats too. These are for in the kitchen, and they're the new ones that Steve bought recently. But I find that the polymer clay rolls better on these. It doesn't roll very good on this one, but I cut more on this one than this. So those are my mats. And then this is like a box that scrapbooking stuff came in. This is Journal Say. It's just a brand, but I have used it to put because the colors in here, I ran out of them. Well, all my tools are in here, but also Steve's bought bigger packs of brown. This didn't have brown, black, white. And then I have little packs. I think I showed you already, the translucent. So I bought more packs of the translucent. All this is Fimo brand, but this one is RHwL brand. So it doesn't matter. You can try different brands and see what works for you. But like I said, while I'm on my live, I might as well make some things. There's these things you can get out of these, they had them all reduced, so that's why I bought them, but they're like these balls, like a mini world stuff, and they have these, what's it called again? It says it right on here. Master Chef ones, and you make it miniverse, where you actually take these things and put them on a plate and use little liquids to put on top, like sauce, and then you use a resin, so it's resin, so you use this little UV light to harden the resin. But before I make any of them, because like I said, I wouldn't have bought them except for the fact that they were all reduced to a really good price. But before I make them, like this is supposed to be roasted potatoes. So it says roasted potatoes, and you see the little roasted potatoes in there and a little sprig of mint. So before I do any of these, there's like some strawberries, and some of the strawberries are cut in half. I know I made some actually, I haven't made this. The strawberries I made, I didn't make the insides like strawberries, so you couldn't cut them in half. I'm trying to get an angle where you can see the inside of the strawberry there. So I've been trying to make these things. This one here has strawberries, kiwis, raspberries, and blackberries. And is there blueberries in there maybe? So I got a lot of things to make there. Some things easier than others, but that's what's in here. So I don't know. So I could make these things. I could make little roast potatoes. This one is granola and chocolate. I've already made chocolate, but I don't know how I'm going to make the granola, just little pieces of yellow flakes like that. So I thought I could make things while we're talking. If you have any suggestions what you want me to make, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just be working along here while I ramble to you guys. The week's gone well. Cleaned up so that I can do other things besides just miniature making, you know, like responsibilities in life and everything, getting all that stuff done. But until then, we'll keep working with this. So you can see how these are my balls of color that I've already used some of them, and then they come like this. In this set, they come in little packs like that of color. It's a little bit crumbly when it's like that, so you just cut off how much you need, and then you work with it in your hands and warm it up and make it into a ball so you can work with it. So I have my colors out. This is not how I was set up before. Hang on. Cushions. I had my colors over here. So my tools here, and then I move this like this and have my colors over here because I don't necessarily need my colors often. Once you know what you're making, you only need a few colors. The other thing, like I said, is you could use white. Just like air dry clay, you could use white or whatever and then paint them afterwards. There is, I don't have the chalks out with me here. I'm not going to do anything like really complicated right now because I don't have my phone for instructions. But there is things that you can use your pastel chalks with a paintbrush and just take some of the chalky pastels and color your things that you make before or after baking. Otherwise, like I said, you can use acrylic paint as well. I haven't tried this yet. This is Fimo Gloss Varnish. So I bought a little bit of that so it gives it a glossy coat. But I haven't tried it yet. So these I probably should bake these. They'd probably be crumbly if I don't. But these are things I made. Sorry guys, Steve's Apple Watch is trying to pair with my phone. What I was saying is these are things I made in high school, and I probably should bake them because they're still in this plastic from high school, which is like 30 years ago almost. You can see there how you start with a circle of yellow, and then you put a circle of green around it, like a ring of green around it, a ring of reddish brown around it, and then you put a bunch of those together, and then around that you put a green ring, and then you put where the legs are, and then in between. So they were all like logs, well, like short logs of color. And then once you start rolling it out, they go together, and you can make them. The more you roll it, the smaller it gets. So it made a turtle. So I made a bunch of turtle things, and then I made a clown as well. You know, he's a bit weird, the clown, but the clown got smaller too. So these are, I made a bunch of beads and necklaces and different things back in high school with these. But this is still uncooked Fimo. So I should cook it before it goes wonky, especially like I said, since it's like 30 years old. So I went to a play yesterday with Erica. It was a youth performers. It was good. It was a Midsummer Night's Dream. I don't really know the story of Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream, but it was a good production of it. And what else has happened? We were supposed to go out for dinner on Friday with Steve and Jackie's friends from Canada, but one of them has tonsillitis, so we didn't want to get that. obviously they didn't feel like going out, so we did not do that. I'm trying to think what else my week entailed. Obviously painting at art class, and I don't know what this is. I gotta put my glasses on. I can't tell if what I'm playing with is clay or, yeah, it looks like white clay. Yeah, it's clay that got mixed with the brown. Okay. So I got some black on that finger. So what should we make? My first thing that I made was carrots. Potatoes are quite easy, but then I used the pastel chalks. So if you have any requests, let me know. So like my first thing that I wanted to make was a stew, and I think I told you guys this. So I started by wanting to make a stew, and then I thought, like, well, when I started making the carrots as practice, I thought, well, if I'm going to make a bunch of these, I'll probably make enough to like have at a shop, and then I thought make a little fruit and veg market. So that's what I started on. With my stew, I have potatoes, carrots, celery. Oh, I have purple onions, or red onions. Sorry, I should say red onions. But I don't have white onions yet. I have made spring onions, but I won't put those in the stew. What else goes in the stew? I haven't made like swede, which is Swedish turnip. They just call it swede here in the UK. So I haven't made that, although that's something Steve would put in the stew. What else goes in a stew that I could make? I have made a few oranges. See, I could just make, I haven't tried making apples yet. I could do apples. If I do the apples that I don't want to cut up, then I don't have to worry about what the inside looks like. So I could take, so this is what I'm saying about with the chalk, is that I could take a color that is lighter, like the inside of the apple, and then I could make that into the shape of an apple, and then I could use chalk or paint to paint the outside so that it looks like an apple, or I could just start with the outside being the color that I wanted. So do I want to make some red apples? And if I made red apples, what shade of red would they be? Do I want to make green apples like Granny Smith? Do I have a Granny Smith green? I have this, yeah, I have this green here. It's very crumbly, very bright, but it's really old too. I don't know how old it is, but I could just make that, like mix that while I'm talking to you guys. It would be it would be this, but lighter. It's Granny Smith. Okay, so I'll start with just mixing this one. So these ones aren't as crumbly as this, but this isn't wasted. It just needs some working. So I'm using a utility knife, and I'm going to just cut, even though this isn't a very big piece, I'm still going to cut it into smaller pieces so that I can work a little bit at a time, and then I'll join them into each other. And be careful because I am clumsy and I can cut myself. So I just cut them into little tiny squares like that. And I'm going to just, when I go to like knead it with my fingers, it just starts to crumble. I don't know if you can see that, how crumbly that is. I'll show you. I mean, I could just crumble all this into a pile and then take a little bit at a time. You see, this is very crumbly, but like I said, this is because, and I'm pretty sure, I'm almost certain this is actually Fimo brand, but it's just old and crumbly. So what I need to do is, it's oil-based, right, because it's polymer clay, so it's, like I said, it's oil-based, and like petroleum, I guess, and petroleum, polymer, anyways. So the oil in it is what, like, as you're working with it with the warmth from your hands or your fingers, the warmth will, soften the oil, and you can make it starts to become more pliable. When you're making things, even with these ones, like when you haven't used it, if you don't work it enough, then it could crumble after you bake it, or it could, have more air pockets and stuff. So you do want to make sure that no matter what brand you're using, you work it enough so it's nice and smooth and pliable before you start shaping it into things. So what else is new with you guys? How has your week been? It is the end of January already. Today's the 26th. Like I said, today is Steve's 61st birthday. Tomorrow is mine and his 7th wedding anniversary. And time just flies by. So January is, like, it just became 2025 and January is almost over. 26 plus 7 is 27, 28, 29. So yeah, so next week we'll be in February already. This is our last January rambling hour. The other thing I could do with you guys is just make houseplants too. I thought about like looking at the colors that I have and make, because like I am almost out of yellow, but do I want to buy a big yellow, or do I want to just, because I have so many different colors here, do I want to make things with the colors that I have and then order another set of colors when, you know what I mean? I could make so many things with the colors I have instead of, you know what I'm trying to say. So, but I also thought like, because there's people who specifically just focus on one thing that they make, and obviously because I'm into plants as well, there's lots of people who do like plants with their clay or paper or whatever. So just like I did that one that I showed you guys with the leftover green from my celery, I could make, I don't know. Like I said, if you're watching live and you have any requests what you think I should make, just let me know. And I'll keep working on this crumbly. I can't see where the other ones are. There was 3 colors that I had of this old theme. I don't even remember why I bought this Fimo years ago. Like, this is since I lived here. Oh, blue. I see the blue right there. Blue, green, and, oh, I think it's red. I think I see it now. It's that one. Nope, not that one. It just has a bit of a different shape. Yeah, that's the blue, and it is Fimo. So that's what this green was like. And what was the other color? Where is it? I don't know. Somewhere in here. So what happens in February is things start getting exciting for the garden already in February. I haven't planted anything. I have not done my sweet peas that I wanted to do in November. Haven't done anything for the spring. But saying that, there's lots of things you would start in the spring, but February is a month that here for the growing season, February is a month that a lot of things could get started if you have a greenhouse or windows that have light, you know what I mean? So I do want to get back in the garden. We've had some nice weather this week with like, it might have been a little bit chilly, but the sun was out, and I just thought, what am I doing with my life? You know you want to be outside, Lisa. So even though this is fun, I need to remember that I love being outside and not take that for granted. Plus, there's like so much to do all the time in the garden. I don't want to let down the plants that I have already and all the stuff in the garden. You know, I don't want to let it go to ruin just because I've found a new obsession for a while. But this is the problem with me, is that I do get obsessive. I realize now why boys were scared, like why I scared the boys off when I was younger, because I get obsessive. So when I'm focused on one thing, even if it was a boy, that would be the only thing I would think about, or, you know what I mean? So that can be kind of creepy when you have someone that likes you and they're a little bit obsessive. So I see it now, but in my other life like this, the clay is not going to mind if I am obsessive about it, but I have to remember to balance my life with everything, not just one thing. So don't worry, like I said, the last couple days I've been cleaning, the house is clean. So I'm working on laundry still, but the house is clean. So I'm okay to do this again for a moment. I guess, I mean, this is all right because I'm still talking while I'm doing this, but it doesn't have to be like this. Working with crumbly stuff like this is only because I'm really cheap and I don't want this to go to waste. And I know that I've already used some of this green when I was making my celery, so I know that it'll still work nicely once it's, like you can already see, well, it's crumbled in my hand again, hang on, I was just going to show you that it was warming up and making a nice ball. The other thing that I noticed too is like sometimes when I'm using a color, especially if I try to get white, then the color that's on my hand So you can see that I have some green stuck to me there, so I don't want to take a color that it would get on. But you can see that now it's starting to form a nice ball. It's not as crumbly. It's getting there. So it's probably not the most exciting thing, but I knew that even if I wasn't playing with like clay to make it nice, it would still be a boring, rambling hour if nobody was tuning in. I should plan some more things like guests and everything else, but either way, this is just, again, the same thing I've told you guys before. This is my way of being social, so I'm going to be in the same place, same time each week, and if you want to show up, and if you don't, you don't, but no one can say that I haven't been putting in the effort to try and be social with my friends and family, because I'm here, you know, I'm here to visit, and I am willing to do like private video chats or voice chats, like phone calls and stuff like that, if people want, but they got to reach out as well, right? It's not all on me. And I'm not going to know that you want to talk or that you know what I mean, unless you let me know. How would I know if somebody's missing me or wants to talk or needs to talk because they got something going on unless they tell me? So, you know, I'm here. Reach out if you want to talk, but I can't. This isn't the most I can do, but this is something that I can do, and I'm doing it. So, again, it's not all on me, right? Friendships and family ships go both ways. So, and again, I like even when people just drop by for like 2 minutes and just say hi, you know, because they see that I'm live and they just drop in and say hi. It's nice to just know that there's people there. But this was a lot of work just for a little bit of clay, and I still have this whole thing to do. But not like I'm doing anything else while I'm talking to you guys. So, birthday was good. Dinner was really good. Steve's such a good cook. I'm really grateful for that. A roast dinner was, so it was a nice Sunday roast. So, yeah, we had roast potatoes, roasted parsnips, and we had cauliflower and broccoli, and then another mix of veg was like, you know, the carrots, sweet corn, and peas. And then we had Yorkshire puddings, and I had horseradish on my roast beef. It was just yummy. And gravy. So there's leftovers as well that we can have tomorrow. If you hear music in the background, if my microphone is picking up music, that is, and I did turn on my microphone this week, so you should be able to hear me. Yeah, if you hear music being picked up, that's the girls in their room. It's weird how some things sound loud in different rooms here, but they're not as loud. Like if their music sounds loud down here, but I went up in their room, they're like, it's not even that loud, and it's true. But it comes through the walls and floor and stuff like it is really loud. So sometimes the TVs will sound really loud. So you'll tell the person to turn them down, and it's not actually on as loud as you think it is. It's weird. What I think is weird is how is it that, like, say the girls are laughing and talking and they're being, you know, however loud, and we can hear them, but then if we shout, girls or whatever, they can't hear us, even though they're supposedly talking and we're shouting and we can hear them, but they can't hear us. I don't understand how some things work like that. So, all right, that one is pretty good. I'm going to crumble some more of this and work on this while we ramble. Maybe when it becomes summertime, as long as I have a good Wi-Fi connection, we can do some real rambling. I could get one of those like selfie sticks and put the camera in front of me and like walk in on a path or whatever and like ramble, you know? I could do that, especially if I get in shape, because then I won't be out of breath while I'm walking and talking. Next birthday in the family, if I'm not mistaken, is Amy, just before Valentine's Day. It was good, like that somebody turned 16 in the house. So Erica had her 16th birthday in July. So when I did Steve's cake today, I just used the 1 and the 6 that we put on Erica's cake and reversed them for Steve's cake, 61. So we got use out of those candles again. Smart and thrifty. If you were to use your skills or what you do for a living and make me a miniature, what would it be? So if you are good at woodwork, you might make me little wooden things. If you were a nurse, you might make me, even if you're not crafty, you might make me like something that you'd find at a hospital or in your nurse's station or something, but like related to what you do for a living or what you're good at for crafting or skills in life or anything. What would it be? Say you are a chef, then you'd make like miniature food, or you like preserving stuff for the winters. You make me little jars of stuff. I'm not saying you have to make me. I'm just saying if you based it on what you do for a living, what would it be? So I guess I like art, right? So maybe I would do a little tiny paintings that you can put in little tiny frames for the walls of your miniature house, which I haven't even done for my own. I'm just trying to think of what I do for a living. Or like I said, because I like to garden, I might make little plants. I just crumbled all of this, so it's a big pile of crumble. But see, I could like try and squish it together on the board and that would work. But like I said, because of the oil in it, if you put it into your hands, like you don't want to put it in the microwave or something that warms it up too much, because that's how it bakes, is like not in the microwave. It's not a good example anyways, but the heat from putting it in the oven, the low heat and stuff, it sets off a chemical reaction inside, which is what makes it bake. I can't remember exactly how it works, but I know it's a chemical reaction. So you don't want too much heat, but the warmth of your hands is enough to get the oil softer. So I want to make cucumbers, but that's like, I'm going to try making them. Again, I can make lots of long cucumbers where from the outside they look good, but I want to try making the cucumbers that if you slice them, it looks like cucumber on the inside as well. But I don't think I need anything else for my stew. So basically, I'm just making things to fill up my my fruit and veg station. The other thing that I want to do, and like right now I'm doing polymer clay, but I got the sewing machine, so there's like textiles, like material and stuff that I can make, because I want to make some maybe Hessian sacks for potatoes. I have the cardboardy paper type egg cartons that I can wet and mulch up into mulch. I want to try making taking the egg cartons and softening it, and then you add glue, so it's like a paper mache type stuff. But I want to try making because I made tiny eggs with the polymer clay, so I want to try and make, I don't know how well to shape this. It's not going to be as easy as I think it is, but I want to try making like a tiny little egg carton out of the material that egg cartons are made out of. So I don't know how well that will work, but this is not a good, for anybody just tuning in or, watching, they'll think, oh my God, that looks like so much work to use polymer clay. So anybody who's just tuning in, this crumbly mess that I have in front of me and that I'm trying to work into a ball, this is not what it's like to use polymer clay normally. This is really old, like years old polymer clay that I'm trying to rescue by warming it up in my hands and reworking it into something that's usable. So some people might just throw this in the garbage and use some fresh stuff because they would be too lazy to do this work. But I'm cheap, and I know that with a little bit of work like this, it can be as good as the new stuff. So it just takes some time. Like I said, see, this one's getting there too, just like this one that I've already done. Just a matter of being patient. And I guess a lot of these things that I make, it is about patience. It's not that bad when you're watching TV though, like watching TV with Steve. Also, I'll show you when my hands aren't as dirty. Just hang on. Because my hands are getting all green now from the crumbly clay sticking to them. That'll change too when it's warmed up in my hands and worked better. I can take that off with it. If you have clay that's too crumbly, too dry, you can add just a drop of olive oil to soften it. You don't want to put too much oil. If there's too much oil in your clay, you can like flatten it and dab it with like kitchen roll, like paper towel. So I don't think this needs any olive oil or vegetable oil added to it. I think it just needs to be worked. So that one's pretty good. It might not be 100%, but it's still pretty good if it's holding its shape like that. So I'll put this one, well, I can add these two together, or I can wait till I'm done all of them and then warm it up again in my hands to make one big ball. So I don't have anything planned this week. I know my friend Zena and I are going to get together for a walk one of these days, and then I know I have painting, babysitting. Anything else on the agenda? Nothing, like, there's nothing specific that I can think of. Like I said, it's the end of January, so maybe, depending on the weather, maybe I'll try and get outside. Got to work in the office, right? I told you guys, like, my priorities is my journals and my miniatures. So it sounds like it is a hobby, but it is something that I've had on my list for so long that, do you know that when I was a kid, I designed a Barbie house? I don't remember if I told you guys this or not. I should get the plans out to show you guys. When I was a kid, I designed a Barbie house. And so even though it seems like this is a new thing that's come about with the miniature making, I wish I would have known this like so many years ago. Can you imagine how many things I could have made with polymer clay all these years? And it is affordable. Like, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal to ask for this for my birthday or Christmas from my parents. I'm pretty sure they could have got it for me. Why didn't I know? We did make lots of things. Like, my parents were crafty with us somewhat, and we made, like, I still have like ornaments and stuff that we made for the Christmas tree and different things that we tried sometimes. But it is so hard to do crafts with your own kids, and I'm not holding that against my parents. I know now as a parent that, like, when I babysat, I did so many crafts and things with kids, right? And then so now that the kids are older, if I babysit now or whatever, it's easier to do when you're babysitting. But with my own kids, you have all those craft things that people buy you because they know you're a crafty person and you have kids, so they think you're going to do these crafts with your kids. But to actually sit down and do these things with your kids is... Sometimes I thought that too, as a rule of, like, with giving the kids these crafts, it should be like, if you give a kid a craft for their birthday or Christmas, you should come over and do that craft with the kid, because the kids will get so many things, and then you as a parent are expected to sit and make this jewelry with them or whatever the craft is, and you're like, I don't have the energy. I can't be bothered to sit down and do this. Now I have the more energy and time and patience to do those things, but the kids, they're not going to make this little jewelry kits that are for little kids. So I thought, they're their kits, so when they move out, they can have the kits that's the thing about taking pictures of their gifts for their birthdays and Christmas, because then I know whose stuff is whose if I haven't marked on it with their name. But they could take them when they move out. So do they take them when they move out and do them with their own kids, or do I keep them here? And then, so say something that Aurora got for, like, say there's like a bracelet making kit Aurora got as a kid. When she has kids, and they come over, should I use her kit to make the craft with her kids? I mean, that's something I'd have to talk to them about, what they want to do with their stuff. Otherwise, when they move out, they can take all their little kids' crafts that they never ended up doing. I would have probably done some of them if they said, Mom, let's do a craft together, and then they went and chose one of their things. But then they didn't always they did their own types of art and drawing and different things, but they weren't always into going and getting a craft out of the craft room. Some of the things, too, you're just like, So I bought this thing for Christmas for Samantha's kids, and we haven't even done our Christmas gift exchange yet. And at first I thought about giving it to the younger kids because it's probably aimed more at them, but then I thought about giving it to Tyla, who just turned 17 today too. Happy birthday, Tyla. And then I thought maybe I'll give it to Tyla because even though it's an arts and crafts thing, if you give it to a little kid, it'll look all right and it'll be fun. But if you give it to somebody that's older, like an adult or like Tyla or something, then it'll look more like the box looks, like how it's supposed to look. So, yeah, so I ended up it's wrapped to give to Tyla. But yeah, so that's the thing with what I was going to say with like lots of their crafts. Like I said, they might not wear the kids' jewelry that the kits are, some of the kits. Like the jewelry things you make and they're like little kids kind of stuff. They're not stuff that you would wear at this age, but at least making them when you're older, the stuff will be more like how it's supposed to look instead of like a 6-year-old made it. So I don't know. I'm almost done the crumblies. And then we can actually make something not crumbly. I don't have an apple here and I can't look at my phone. That's the thing, like I said, I could use paint and chalk after, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm so, like, a realist. Like, I like things to look like they're supposed to look. So, as if I need a real apple to see what the Granny Smith color has to be exactly, like this is too bright, it needs to be a bit lighter, but I just can't believe, like, this week has gone by so fast. On Thursday, me and Steve were sitting out here, and we were watching TV, and then I was like, what day is it even? Is it Saturday? And he just looked at me like, what are you talking about? Because it was Thursday, but the week has just gone by so fast. I think, like, I can't believe today's Sunday, and tomorrow's Monday, and the week's starting again already. It went by so fast. Oh boy, almost done. So with Samantha's daughter Tyla, Erica's best friend, turning 17, one of her birthday presents was to start like driving, because at 17 is when you can start driving here. So I guess Erica said today that Tyla did a bit of driving, like practicing, so that, you know, at 17 you can start practicing. You can get your provisional and start practicing, but at 17 you can also pass your test and get your license. So weirdly, before that, I mean, you can go to probably a closed track or private property and learn to drive before you're 17, but being on the road with someone who has a license in the passenger seat, who's had their license for over 2 years, a UK license, you have to be 17. So it's really frustrating that none of the girls, Tom has his license and Owen has his, and they both didn't get it right away at 17. Fair enough, but the girls just don't have any interest in learning to drive or anything. I mean, I get it a little bit because driving on the roads here, they're so narrow and tight that unless I guess if I was born and raised here and that's all I knew, then I might not be as scared, especially when you're younger and you don't have as much fear. But being older and knowing the difference of driving on the open roads in Canada, I mean, even in Canada, I was scared enough to drive on a freeway when you had to merge into traffic. So here it's a little bit more scary, I guess, but I can't imagine not knowing how to drive, even though I didn't get my license until I was 21. I got my learners when I was 14, but I didn't actually get my driver's license where I could drive by myself until I was 21. But that was partly because I grew up in the city and there was really good public transit, so I could take the bus anywhere I went. But I couldn't imagine not knowing how to drive and not having that freedom if I lived in a small town. Like, we live in a pretty small town. To get anywhere here to do anything, the kids, you know, even we don't have a movie theater here, nothing really, right? So I just don't understand. Kimber says, both my kids have no interest in driving either. Isn't it weird? Like, especially like being Canadian, I mean, Kimber's Canadian and so are our kids, so it surprises me that they don't have an interest in it either. You just think, like, especially when we were younger, because you could get your learners at 14, it was like such a even if you couldn't afford a car or anything like that, it was just like such a, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I can't remember the term I'm trying to think of, but like a stage in life. Like you're like something that you were like, you couldn't wait to get to that point where at that age you get to do this. So just seemed like, I mean, Kimber, how old were you when you got your learner's and license? Were you excited to learn to drive, or was it not something that you cared about either at first? Like I said, I think I would have got mine a lot sooner if I didn't have a bus pass that took me and city buses that took me everywhere I needed to go, and they were affordable then. Now to take the bus, again, we live in a small town, so it's not the same buses that go everywhere. It's not like one bus system that you can get a bus pass for, and it's way more expensive to take the bus. Um, Kimber says different generation. I find it common now, and Kimber said I didn't care too much. But Kimber, you grew up. Did you grow up in Edmonton? Because I met Kimber when she was already an adult, and so was I. So did you, and did if you grew up in a city, did you take public transit? Is that part of the thing? Like you could get where you needed to go without worrying about driving? So you guys can see that that's not crumbly at all anymore. It's a nice soft lump of clay. It's still now it's pretty firm. It still needs like to be softened up quite a bit if I was to use this right now, but I wouldn't be probably using a big chunk like this anyways. Well, it depends what you're making, but I am not making one big apple. I'm going to make little ones, right? So, and Kimber says, I always had friends with cars. Oh, well, that helps. I didn't really have friends, let alone friends with cars. My parents had cars, so my mom was good about driving us. I'm not saying my dad wasn't, but my mom was good about like if we wanted to go to the movies and stuff like that, like she would take us. And but also when we got our learners, I say us like me and my brother because we're the same age, but like my sisters as well. But she would say we wanted to go to the movie theater. She would let us drive while she was in the passenger seat, and then come and pick us up after and stuff. So she was good about letting us drive and practice. Part of that is that her vehicle was like older and my dad's was a work vehicle. So my dad, we weren't on the insurance for my dad's vehicle, even if he owned it, because of liability for work. So we couldn't drive my dad's car. And I thank my mom for letting us practice and drive and learn because I know what it was like even letting Thomas use my car. Like once we got our license too, letting us borrow her car. Because when Thomas's car, when he needed to get a new car and he didn't have one for a while, when I would lend him mine, it was a nice thing to do. I knew that he was as responsible as a 23-year-old could be than 22 could be. He took it seriously. He took care of my car. He would get it cleaned and everything else. So I knew he wouldn't do anything on purpose, but there is still the anxiety of letting someone else drive your car because you take care of your car and like it's just like, oh, if anything happens to it, you know what I mean? So listen, I'm getting better, but I don't even like lending out small things like staplers and things, you know what I mean? So let alone a car, but so I thank my mom for trusting us and letting us practice with her car and everything. So what do we want to make? We're going to make apples. I keep thinking of going to the kitchen and grabbing some apples, but I'm talking to you guys, so I'm not going to leave you. Again, this is still firm, so maybe I'll find another color, or I can mix this with another. Because like I have like these light greens, right? And then I have but it's like, and then there's this green. And Granny Smith is kind of like somewhere in there, right? And then you have like apples where they might not all be one color. Like if it's not totally ripe yet, it might have a little bit of lighter colors. I'll take a bit of this. We'll see what we come up with. Take this color. I mean, this one seems a bit fluorescent too. I want these like greens, but I don't want my apple to look like it's glowing in the dark. There's a rubbish bin right here, so I was just putting the plastic that comes on this. I am new at this, but if you were to buy yourself polymer clay and wanted to make things, there's so many videos on YouTube and stuff that you can see how to make different things, and it's so, like, it's way more, I'm not going to say it's easy, because it is persnickety with your fingers and with, like, I mean, I have a set of, for making miniatures, I have this set, a couple of them are not in here right now, but this is a set of, like, different tweezers and stuff, so, like, you can use tweezers and different things to make your miniatures. And I have these blades for cutting. And so you have these tools like what are these things called again with the little dots on the top? Not stylus. Yeah, I think it's called a stylus with a little dot on the top. And rolling pin, like tools, but on this pokey thing. Pokey tool. But there was something I was going to say. I'm just looking. Oh, there's my tweezers. And then I have these. I bought a few sets of these. There's some with my art stuff. There's a set with in here that I just opened and put in here. And there's a set with the baking stuff for cakes and stuff. But I don't remember what I was going to say. So it can be, especially the smaller you're making, at least I'm doing 1/6 size, like Barbie, Elf on the Shelf size. But if you're making things like the Victorian dollhouse size, which is 1/12 scale, those are even smaller. And so it can be very tedious or finicky trying to make such small things. But at the same time, like I said, if you watch videos and stuff online, it is a lot more simple than it looks. Look, I mixed two colors already. It looks cool. So, okay, wait, hang on. Kimber says, add some black or brown maybe to darken it. When I make things out of fondant to darken it up and make it look more realistic, I usually add some darker colors to it. Yeah, baking tools would work really good too. Luckily, I already have, she wrote lots, but I think she meant to say lots. Yeah, so it is the same tools, and even using fondant is basically the same, what's the word I'm looking for? Same idea as making stuff out of polymer clay. So if you've done stuff with fondant for cakes and stuff, you understand the concept. It's very similar. It's just that this is not edible. So I will look at what color this makes when it's done mixing, Kimber, and then I'll see, yeah, if we need to add like a little bit of brown or something to darken it, but good tips. And sometimes when you're adding a color, just add a little bit. It's just like if you were adding food coloring to something, just add a little bit, then see what you get, and then you can add more because you can't take away. Although if it was a color that I didn't want to use, I could just set it aside and use it for something else, and then start again. So you can see how the two colors are blending into each other, and I'm just continuing to mix it until it becomes one color. But it depends what you want. If you want like a mix of colors like that, you could use that. But that's not what an apple looks like really to me. So I'm going to keep mixing. And I've only started with a little bit because, again, I'm making small apples and I can make different kinds of apples. But I also want to see what color we get. I didn't want to mix all of it in case it's something that I don't want to use. So you can twist, like you can make a long roll like this. well, it's not a long roll, but so, and then you can twist to mix your colors. You can put it together. If I roll this out in, if I roll it out into a long snake, like whatever, then you put it together like that and then twist like that. It's just whatever you need to, or you can just push it together and then twist and push it together, and you're just mixing the colors. It looks like a nice color, and I need to put my glasses on. And it's definitely different than the two colors that I mixed. Like, it's not like one or the other. It's definitely its own color. So I'll show you guys the difference. It looks like it's mixed. Okay, I want to show you guys this. This is a ring light that Steve bought me, and it's got a magnifying glass on it for making miniatures. Very cool, and he spoils me. He tells me, like, sometimes he'll complain about my hobbies and crafts, but then he just buys me what I need for them because he wants me to be happy, and he spoils me. I love him. He's the best. But, so this was the Big Fimo. This is, oh, it looks similar on my camera. I don't know if that looks similar to you or not, but in real life it doesn't. It is its own color. So, what do you think? Should we try adding something to it? A little bit of white? Or, Kimber says like brown, but I wonder if a Granny Smith should be lighter or darker. I think I'm going to add a little bit. That's more of a purple than a brown. Where's my brown? Do I have any brown? Or like this big chunk of brown that I have. I've already cut some off of this, but I can't see if I have a little one of this. Let me put on my glasses, or I'll just cut a little bit off of here. Now I cut that much off, but I'm not going to use all that. I'm just going to break just a bit off, a little triangle of it, and then mix it in. I'll show you. So I'll mix that much in. Oh, did Kimber write? Nope, that was still the same comment. So I'm flattening it into a pancake, and then folding it over, flattening it into a pancake, folding it over, flattening. Like I said, you can twist it, you can flatten it, do whatever you want to mix the color in. It's barely starting to show the brown, but we're going to keep going. For TV, we've watched the first season of The Recruit. I guess the second season is going to be coming out. So Steve already saw the first season a couple of years ago when it came out, but he watched it again with me so that he would be refreshed and ready for because he didn't remember all of it because it's been a few years, so he enjoyed watching it again. And then the second season's coming out of that. It's about a guy who works for he's a lawyer that works for the FBI, CIA? Yeah, CIA, I think. And then we watched I told you guys last week about the Traitors, with a T, Traitors, the UK version of the Traitors. So we finished, that series finished, and I want to watch a Canadian one, which we talked about, because Kimber, you said that somebody who is on Big Brother and has a podcast is one of the people on it. And then I said that a podcast that I listen to called Dark Poutine, which is crime and dark stories from Canada. Mike Brown, the host of that, is on that season of. So I don't know how he did or anything on the Traitors, so don't tell me. But I want to watch the Canadian version of it, so Steve's going to get that for me to watch. Well, he already found it. I just need to watch it. So. But we enjoyed the UK one, so I think you might enjoy the Canadian one too. We'll see what it's like compared. This is a very nice color, and Kimber, you win the prize. Ding, ding, ding. I think this that little bit of brown is perfect. It makes it not so fluorescent, and I think it's a lot more. Oh, it's hard. The colors to you guys don't look like they do to me in real life, but It's more of a, you can see the fluorescent green on my hand. That's still stuck there, but it is more of a Granny Smith kind of green. It could almost be a little bit darker even maybe, but I'll use this color and make some, and we'll see. So it's nice and soft, and you can get to a point where you're working with the stuff and it's too soft, so you can leave it to cool off a little bit. If it's too soft, that means like you worked it too much, but and it gets a bit sticky when it's too soft. So how big of an apple do I want to make? So we all know, like even when we were kids playing with Play-Doh or anything, how to make a circle, right? And if we don't, you can roll it in your fingers. You can roll it on the table with the palm of your hand around and around and around like that. And no, that made it an oval, but or palm to palm, you just roll until it makes a ball. And Kimber says, "Yay!" Or yeah, with a green heart because we got the right color. So I'm making it now. Apples aren't like completely, well, it depends what kind it is. Some of them are more, not oval, but they're taller. Like some of them are round, and then some of them are taller than the perfectly round ones. And they got the bottom a little bit. So I've made a circle. A sphere. So then we want to shape it a little bit, right? So that's where you bring in your imagination, or you're looking at a picture. And then at the top, I can use this. Yeah, I forgot what it's called again. What's this called? Stylus. And make the shape a little bit on the top where, let's see, I'm not looking at an apple, so I have to like try and do this out of my head. I don't know if it has that many lines, but I made it like squishy on top, and I could put a stem in there, but it might be a little bit more smooth on top. And then the Granny Smiths aren't totally oval shaped. They're kind of, like I said, a little bit taller, and they might even have an indent at the bottom. Hang on. I need like a stylus. Well, maybe this one. See, like it's like a big ball, because I don't want to make a hole, but I want to make like a, yeah, like an indent kind of at the bottom. Oh, that might have been too big. Hang on, I'll show you what I did. It looks like a, so that's an apple that I made so far. What do you guys think? Does that kind of look like an apple from out of my head? Kimber says, sisters, not twins, when making things like apples. What does that mean, sisters, not twins? I don't know what that means. You have to explain what that means. Okay, making another ball. I want to get all the seams out of it too, like if it lines. Some people wear gloves, like, Kimber said, so cute. Thank you. Some people wear gloves when making things because they don't want their fingerprints on them. It's up to you if you want your fingerprints. It just adds like your signature on it. It's not that noticeable, your fingerprints, but it's up to you if you want to. So I can put a little brown stem in these too. Again, I'm making these out of memory, so ooh, this one is very squishy on top. And this one's not even as big as the other one. I wish I could eat apples. I'm allergic to them, so I can eat them cooked, but not raw. But I do love apples. I used to eat a lot of them when I was younger. I mean, it's a similar concept. Sorry, I cut out there. It's got a little bit of a pucker on top and a little bit of a dimple on the bottom, and it's shaped like that. So I'll put a little stem on it. Kimber said, look alike, but not exactly the same. Oh, you mean like, oh, from each other. Yeah, yeah. I wasn't going to make, yeah, twins because everything looks, yeah, I know what you mean. So, and some of them might have a bruise, some of them might have different spots of color, depending. I have lots of different apples in the fridge, like even different kinds, but I need to go and see them. So let me find, I still have brown right here. Just take a smidge. Now, I don't want to just cut a stem off of this, because remember that I just cut this off the block, so this hasn't been worked yet. So even if I'm only using a smidge of it, I want to work it in my fingers first and make it pliable. Otherwise, it might just crumble in the air fryer. I want to stop saying that because I don't want people to think that I'm making them on air fry. I'm making them baking. I don't want them to crumble when they bake. I mean, I probably could have taken all that brown and made it into a nice, what's it called again? Globe, sphere, you know, because I will eventually use it, but I just took a little bit. So as soon as this is soft enough, I will cut a little stem off. Well, I could either cut a little piece off and make it into a stem, or I could roll this itself out. I'll show you before I make it too small. So I've made it a little snake like that so far, and I'm going to roll it out even smaller than that, and then cut off a piece and make like 2 little stems, and then tuck it into the apple, and I'll show you guys in a second. So you can cut, like what I did with my celery, once I put my celery together, because it was like harder to put my celery, I wanted flat ends like they were cut, but instead of trying to cut my celery while it was soft and getting those sharp ends, or those flat ends, I waited till after it was cooked so it wouldn't change shape. So with this stem, I could cut this stem like this, you know, because it like stems, when you break them off, they look like flat on the end. So I could cut it like this. And then, so I can use my fingers to do this, or you can use tweezers if you want, because it's so small. I'll show you what I mean. So if you can see on the end of the tweezer, that's where my stem is. It's really small. And I'm going to put it in to the, so you can tuck it in with this, or you can use a little, you know that pokey thing that I told you guys about? Where's the pokey tool? Like, I don't want to make a hole in my apple, but this is pokier, so you can just poke it in there gently. Have it like so it's standing up. Now, if I wanted this stem to be shorter and more like flat on the end, I could cut it now, but if I don't want to wreck my apple, then I can bake this, and then it'll be hard and my apple won't change shape, and I could cut the stem so it's smaller when it gets out of the air fryer. Oh my God, out of baking. I'm baking it. So I'm going to put a stem into my other one. I want it skinnier like that one. So I'm going to make one more stem. And I'm going to take the tweezers. And like I said, the tweezer, it is actually just stuck to the end of the tweezer because it's a little bit sticky. So you don't even need to tweeze it where you're squishing it. And then, where's my other apple? My other apple, I'm trying to do this with you guys there, but then when it's too far away, I can't see with my glasses. So, oh, I don't want to tuck it in with that. So you could use your stylus or your little pokey tool just to get it in the hole there. Make sure it's attached too, because you don't want it to fall out once you bake it. Now this one, I'm going to show you guys. This is not how a stem would look. A stem would not look that pokey on the end, but it will look good when I take it out, when it's baked, and cut it to like there, and then it'll look flat on top, and it'll look more like an apple stem. So that's why I left it a bit long right now, so I have the room to cut it. And if I wanted to change the color on these apples at all, I can use the chalk or the acrylic paint afterwards. So those are my 2 apples. I'm going to put these ones on the tray here for baking. And you guys would not believe this, but we are already at an hour. So if you want to watch us back from the beginning, go ahead. There's not much I'm doing on here. Those are the only things we've made this whole time. It was just a normal rambling hour. I mean, I gave you some tips and tricks with polymer clay, but for the most part, we've just been yammering on. So I'm going to go get some apples out of the fridge, and I'm going to try making some other apples here, and then I also want to try my cucumbers, but I'll post pictures of all those things in the next few days when I've got them made. I do have an album already made on Facebook that's called My Miniature Adventures, but there's only stuff in there from like a few years ago and not very much in there, and I do have a bunch of pictures of the stuff I've made over the last few weeks on my phone. I just haven't added it to that album. So I will make that a priority in the next couple days to add those two there, including the apples and cucumbers that I'm going to make tonight or tomorrow. All right. I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll try and make it more interesting next week unless you enjoyed this. I'll try and do something different next Sunday. But we're already into February. Crazy times. And I love you guys and have a great week, and we'll see you then. Love you. Bye.